Are you a sports PT and all you want to do is take your athlete to that next level, but you can't because you don't know how to offer your strength programs or you can't transition them into your wellness programs? Well, I'm going to be sharing that in today's episode. Hi everyone, welcome back to the podcast. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome to all those who have heard my content in the past, and welcome all new listeners. Today we're going to be talking about wellness programs. We're talking about getting athletes and keeping them on your schedule so you can really get them back to sport. Before I do that, what is the latest and greatest in life? I have been away. I took 2 weeks. I was in Ohio, in cold Ohio. It was like 13 or 19 degrees. It was super cold. But we went for the holidays to my wife's family, and that was fantastic. My kids play in the snow, and gosh, I personally, I am a California boy through and through. I can't take it. My skin can't take that cold weather. My kids loved it. They just bundled up. I think they got like 5 to 8 inches of snow, so that was good. Just seeing my my in-laws. For those who don't know, my father-in-law was sick last year around this time and nearly died, and it was good to just kind of spend time with them. And my wife's grandfather from her mom's side is ill and terminally ill, and so we got a chance to really spend some time with them and take some things away. And I asked him, I said, what's the, if you can share with me, what's one thing as a professional that you would do and enhance your quality of life and with your family and personally, like what would you do? And the phrase he gave me was pretty, it was perfect for my timing, and I'll explain that later. But he said, small is beautiful. And what he meant by that is, don't overextend yourself. Whether you're trying to get more certifications, you're trying to have a family, you want to go from 1 to 4 kids or 1 to 3 kids, or you want to buy a house and you can't afford it. If you want to, whatever it is personally that you're trying to do, don't overextend yourself. And he says, small is beautiful. Small family, a small company, small things are beautiful. And it's low pressure, and I can take that away. And I'll come off of an announcement, I think on the next podcast probably, but I have some personal things in the works that I'm really excited to just share. It's a personal goal of mine to achieve in life, and right now was the right time, and it made sense with Small is Beautiful, so stay tuned for that next announcement. Otherwise, it's back to everything. I have my company annual planning meeting. This is where I spend 8 hours. I close down for a day, and I get my entire team on board for what the goals are for the new year, and then we meet quarterly after this. But it's ultimately a full day of what's not going right with our company, what do we want to accomplish, and then just what needs to happen from a team culture perspective to goals to everything in between. So I'm excited for that. So a lot of moving parts, but ultimately life is fantastic. I just started my Sports PT Kickstarter 8-week online mentorship course. I have people from all over the country. We have definitely a lot from California. We have some Arizona. We have Texas. We have New Jersey. Welcome, New Jersey. We have 6 people from New Jersey. We have Florida. We have Ohio, and 1 from Colorado. So excited to have you guys in there, and 1 from Washington. So excited to have everyone in there. But yeah, so all right, let's talk about this episode. All right, so why is this so important? So all right, so I've mentioned on previous podcasts, and if you're new to this, I am pro sports PT. I love everything about it. I am also pro out of network. Majority of 99.9% of my career has been cash or out of network. I don't know a ton about insurance. I went a different route than a lot of people. I went pro sports, and in pro sports, there's not really an insurance barrier. You get to do whatever you want. And then I was a concierge physical therapist traveling around the world, so I didn't have any oversight with that. And then I opened a cash-based company 10 years ago, now with 3 locations and 15 staff. So transitioning athletes to wellness programs is a different perspective that I have. But I've heard over mentoring thousands of sports PTs that they struggle with this. And this recently came off of a call that I had with a one-on-one with a PT from Florida that they want to be able to offer that service, but they find themselves stuck. It's like, they said, I offer it and then they don't just take it. And there's a lot of layers to this, but ultimately maybe you have a patient who has been in network with you, and maybe they're running out of visits, 6, 10, 12 visits, whatever that is. Or you're an out-of-network provider, a cash provider, and you know they need it, you know they really want it, but you just don't know. There's a gap there in, like, they just don't see the value. For some reason, maybe it's your programming. There's just a lot of layers. And so I'm going to outline what it takes really to transition an athlete or an active individual, your patient, whether they're in network or out of network. There's a lot of layers to get to this, but I want to help you transition them, because I truly believe that wellness programs or strength programs, whatever you want to call them, are critical to our success as a provider, and more importantly, the patients need it, because what you offer in 3 to 4 sessions is not enough. It's good to get them out of pain, but it doesn't help their fitness. It doesn't help them lose weight. It doesn't help them get to the next level. It doesn't help them get back to sport. It doesn't help them stay in sport. There's several layers, and so I hope you outline that so you can transition your personal patients over to this, and ultimately so you don't get stuck with orthopedic, unmotivated people who don't even really want to be there. And so if you want to keep your schedule full with patients who literally are excited and passionate to be with you in your clinic, and they just want to know what the next exercise is, they want to know what the next program is, so you can continue seeing them elevate, this podcast is going to be perfect for them. All right, so here's what I've heard in the past, right? So you have an athlete, maybe knee pain, patellofemoral syndrome, and right around the 10 or 12th session where their insurance is going to run out, you start talking to them and like, hey, listen, your knee is strong, but it's not strong enough to be able to play in the tournaments that you have coming up in a month or a couple weeks. And ideally what we would do is we would build you a strength program. We would have you work with us for 6 weeks, 2 times a week for 6 weeks, to keep you in our gym, and we'll supervise all your therax. We'll get your program going and maybe run you with an aide or yourself or whatever it is. And you're like, I can show you through, whether you have force plates or anything else, to show you that you're making improvements in strength, which will then help you with a better foundation of strength, help you with be able to do force production, plyometrics, and speed, and everything else that you need. And the problem is that first of all, you offer it really close to their discharge, and that's a problem. That's one layer. Another problem is the way you communicate, and then the other one is the mediums in which you communicate. So there's 3 layers to this that I'll share. So I'm gonna build this out from an ideal perspective and worst case scenario. Okay, worst case scenario is, this is probably most people probably like you. You wait till the 12th visit, and then you present this beautiful program that you built for them. This is the patellofemoral bulletproof program, right? And so you've built out this great, beautiful program. It includes, an hour of exercise 3 times a week, strength training, lower body, push-pull sequence, core activation, linear acceleration, the transitioning into any sport, soccer, whatever it is. And you know it's going to work. You've put in that time and effort. You've ran people through it, and you just put Johnny, this 16-year-old soccer player, on that, or you put the 25-year-old collegiate intramural player on there, or the 35-year-old CrossFitter through your strength program. You've done that all, and then you waited to that time. You show them the program, and they're like, "No, not right now. Let me think about that. Not right now. Maybe next time." Perfect. So there's a couple things that went wrong. That's worst case scenario, that you put it at that 12th visit, right? Because that's discharge. So now you present everything else. Well, you probably didn't have like a handout or anything like that actually supports it, a landing page, a website, or anything else like that. And you probably introduced it that one time at the very end. You put all the eggs in basket, and then you presented it once. You then only had, just the document or the paper. You didn't have more information so they can read upon it. So there's a couple different layers. The first one you want to do, anytime you have strength or wellness programs, maybe it's an injury prevention program, maybe it's, a bone density program with your older patients who play pickleball, whatever that is. One of the first things you have to understand is people, including yourself, don't make decisions very quickly, and especially with today's, tech savvy or information saturation community, that you're just overwhelmed with data and things all the time, whether that's YouTube or Instagram or Facebook, whatever that is. You're just getting things all the time, and so it's overwhelming, and so you don't know how to decipher what's good and what's bad. And so because of that, people take a longer time now to make decisions than ever. So if you were going to go buy a new car, I mean, think about the websites and all these new apps and things that you would have to look through to figure out what's the best deal. So if somebody said, hey, I got a great deal that's going to end tomorrow, you would say, well, gosh, I have to look through all these other apps and everything else to confirm that this is the best deal. So you have to have time on your hands. And that's how patients think when you present a program or something that they can do. If you waited all the way to the last minute and you present that program, they didn't have any time to digest. So even if it's the best deal, they didn't know that. And so they want to gather information. So one of the best things you can do is offer early. And that's probably on that first visit, for sure on that second visit. So even if they're there for knee pain or post-op, one of the things that you can do is tell them what that journey looks like. So you would introduce them like, hey, don't worry, we're going to get you out of pain. We're going to start you by, with general exercise, flexibility, range of motion, activation, whatever fancy words you want to inundate them with. So you're going to do that, but then also say, listen, that's the first stage of what we're going to do. And then the second stage is we create more resilience so it doesn't happen again with the strength program. And we'll talk about that later, and I'll give you more information on your second visit. So on that second visit, that's where you're going to create the handout, give them something they can tangibly look at and review. So the first thing you have to do is offer early. You got to do this, whether you're in network or out of network. It really doesn't matter. The problem is still the same in that you didn't offer early enough. That's the first part. The second part is you have to offer regularly or consistently. So say for instance, Johnny or Beth or whoever it is, the 25-year-old, 45-year-old, whatever it is, you decide to help, you're going to get them out of pain, but at that second visit, you're going to mention it again or give them their handout. And then every visit that you see them, what you're going to do is remind them, listen, I love your progress, knee's getting better. We're one step closer to making sure you're strong. This is going to get you, and the way I present this, and I think this 2-3 podcasts ago, everyone, if everyone in communities kind of sits at this equilibrium point, okay, and this is like general health, and when you have pain or something that interferes with your quality of life, surgery, you're no longer in equilibrium, you're below equilibrium, right? So you're now interfering with your normal daily life. They can't function, they can't go up and down stairs, right? So physical therapists help patients get back to equilibrium. And then in order to go beyond equilibrium into like functional activities, back to sport and those type of things, that's not covered under insurance. So if you're an insurance-based PT and you're trying to help an athlete get beyond into a wellness program, a strength program, at first your phase one is to get them from below homeostasis back to equilibrium. And that's when insurance will say, hey, you're done. That's fantastic. In order for people to see the value in going from equilibrium to an enhanced quality of life with fitness, with wellness, whatever it is, that's typically paid out of network. So if you're an in-network provider, you got to understand this is part of your role if you're really wanting to help people to get back to sport, to do the right things, so that they don't go out just weak and poor flexibility, poor balance, and sets them up for future injury. You literally care about these patients. And so in order to do that, just caring is not enough, because these people are well informed and they need to make better decisions for themselves. So time needs to be on their hand. So you're going to do it early. The second part you're going to do is you're going to do it often. So every single session that you're telling them, just like tell them the truth, be passionate about it, be genuine in that, listen, I'm excited for you. We're almost out of pain. As we go on to that next phase, here's what that's going to look like. And I'm always telling them what that looks like. So when we get to visit 6, the same thing, I'm mentioning that same goal of like, we're going to bring you back to equilibrium, but we're also going to get you to that next stage. So if you have 12 visits, every session or every other session, you're just doing it often. So you have to have time on your hands. That's number one. You introduce early. The second part is you do it consistently. That helps that patient understand, like, gosh, let me think about that. Does this make sense? Do I like this guy or girl? Does that make sense? Like, does their philosophy jive with it? And I have to look at financially, does that make sense for me? And is this goal that important? And once they leave your PT clinic, you have to understand, like, life is happening to them, so they don't think about you anymore. So, once they leave your PT clinic, they're thinking, well, great, what's for dinner? I got to run these errands, I got to do all these other things. And most PTs think that the patient's like, obsessing about what they just went over. No, they're like a human. They're just going to go and do their thing. So if you're not doing it early or often, they'll forget, or they don't even know that it was an option. So that's the first part. You got to do it early. The second one is you got to do it often. And the third part is you have to do this through multiple mediums. It's got to be through maybe a flyer, maybe an email, maybe verbally, maybe a text, maybe a website. In all of those mediums, people receive things differently. I'm an audio person, an audio and video, right? So when I watch something or hear it, man, that thing gets lodged in my brain. It does not go away for a very long time. If I read it, it's like, I kind of remember that. So like when I read a book, I know for a fact I have to read it multiple times for me to gain that same information. Whereas if I watch a movie, I can tell you what the person was wearing, at what time point, what the background looks like. I can just do that. So for me, if I want that information to soak in my head, but I'm an audio-visual guy, you might have another person who's a written person, and that's how they receive information. That's why I think you have to do it through multiple mediums, because this is not about you. This is about the patient and how they receive information, so they can make a better decision for themselves. Now, if you've done it early, and you've done it often, and you've done it through multiple mediums, now the patient can determine if there's going to be value in their life. And I think that's what's going wrong in your current approach, the way you treat athletes, is that you're so excited, you're so obsessed about the impairments and the thorax and all these other things. You get them to discharge and like, hey, if you want to take it to the next level and bridge the gap between rehab and performance, let's get you on this, improve your performance plan. And they're like, I didn't know about that. Let me think about it. And rightfully so, I think you would do the same. But the problem is you don't see yourselves in their feet. You're like, but this is so good for you. I have all the initials, and I took 5 different courses on this. It's the best for you. Yeah, those are all words. They don't mean anything to me. So I need to know well in advance so I can take this information in. So if you're stuck, if you're a cash or out of network, it's still the same problem. The only difference is you're going to introduce this early on a telephone call, on an email, and you're going to explain what your journey looks like to work with you, so that they can actually accelerate the rehab and be able to go back to performance. Now, the patient just wants to be able to be successful and be able to enjoy the quality of life that they want. They don't know what a physical therapist does. And most importantly, they probably shouldn't, because physical therapy has a negative connotation to it. Think about this. If you asked your mom, ask your mom or your dad or any sibling or friend or roommate, whatever that is, ask them, how would you define what physical therapy is? What does that mean to you? Just ask them that. And what you're going to see is the only time you see a physical therapist is if you're hurt. Sometimes physical therapists stretch you and hurt you. Sometimes they give you exercises. Those are going to probably be your top 3 qualities, which means that you only have to go to a therapist when you're hurt. Now, you can say, well, the APTA and my local state legislature has been fighting for direct access. Well, that's not educating the consumer on just sports therapy. It's physical therapy as a whole, right? It's geriatrics and pediatrics. So that's why the message is very global. It's very widespread. It's not specific to athletes and sports PT. So you have to educate people. So you'd rather people come in with a blank slate. Never heard of physical therapy? This is what tell me what it is. That's your opportunity. Imagine the patient didn't even have access, never knew what a sports physical therapist was. And that's where you get the best start. Let me walk you through what the normal process is here. We're going to get you out of pain in these visits. You're going to do thorax. You're going to do neuromuscular control. We're going to get muscular endurance. And then phase 2 is we're going to get you strong. We're going to build some power. And then we're going to work on injury prevention so that in season you are actually crushing it. That tells them what that looks like. And the problem is, you don't even know how to outline that. But you got to do that early, you got to do it consistently, and you have to do it through multiple mediums. Start there before you start working on every one of your programs. And that's the problem. Most physical therapists, they start on the program and don't know how to offer it. Whereas the opposite is, how about you offer it early, often, and through multiple mediums? And then you get to showcase all the fancy exercises that you've been studying, all the initials you've been studying for. But other than that, if you can't clean that up, you have no chance of keeping athletes in your wellness programs or transitioning them. And that's most people's problems. So if you're like me and you love working with athletes, this is the step in the right direction to keep them in your wheelhouse and really ultimately get them to that next level. So if you're stuck, if you don't know how to do this in network, out of network, or cash, and you want to be able to do this at every single stage with every single athlete, because you don't want to work with unmotivated people. You're tired of that schedule being filled with people who don't want to be there. So if you're looking to fill your schedule with more athletes, be seen as that expert without taking more CEU courses, without taking more credentials and taking these courses that help you design the program but not how to offer them, I created something called my Cash PT Clinical Elevation course. Now, it is for a network, out of network, and cash-based providers. It's ultimately a step-by-step process on how to program, how to offer it at multiple stages with your respective clinic. It allows you an opportunity to work with more athletes, but more importantly, how to offer it, when to offer it, and without feeling bad about it, without feeling salesy, because that's the problem with sports PT. I just want to work with athletes, but I don't want to learn how to offer it, deliver it, and then keep them on my schedule, but I just want to treat. I had that problem too, and it took me years to figure that out. So I've consolidated 10 years of working in cash-based physical therapy, helping in-network, out-of-network, and cash-based physical therapists all over the world for the last 10 years. And I consolidated that into my 8-week program. So it's online. It is 2 hours a week, and it is 8 weeks, and it gives you an opportunity to digest the material, to go over it, and allow yourself week by week progress. So if you're interested in that, head over to drchrisgarcia.com/elevation, and I'd love to see you inside the course. If I don't see you inside the course, I will see you on the next episode. Take care. Hi, if you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell notification for my weekly tips on treating cash pay patients, becoming that expert in your community, and thriving in business. Thanks, and I'll see you soon.